So, Alan, tell us all about ChromeTech of Wisconsin. I know you all are just outside of Milwaukee. Give us a little overview of what you all do there and your size and scope, if you could. Yeah.
We're at 44,000 square feet. We've been in business 40 years this year.
Congratulations!
We
Yes.
do things. Sometimes it seems short, sometimes really long. So it depends what day.
Right.
We do electroless nickel. We have 6 manual lines, and then we have one large automated line for electroless nickel. We do mid and high. We do a little bit of low, but we haven't had that large of a demand for that.
Right.
Then we do hard chrome. We have a large automated line with 4 cells that we run. We run up to 17 million pieces a year on those of different parts.
Wow.
It's was set up by Walgren. A really nice line, easy to program or to put recipes in. Probably have 3,000 plus recipes in. Then we have manual tanks for hard chrome too.
Right.
We probably still do most sales in hard chrome. We have full polishing then for roll polishing, centerless polishing. We also do sulfamate nickel. We find a lot of call, or quite a bit, niche market at least, call for hard chrome over nickel. So we do sulfamate nickel. It's used occasionally for heavy deposits, but mainly it's used for nickel and chrome. Then
Gotcha.
we also have a grind shop that we bought too. So we do a lot of grinding, both OD and ID, which complements mainly the hard chrome.
Right. Right.
So we do a lot of salvage type plating for hard chrome too. Heavy deposits. We put 60, 70,000 thick on sometimes for salvage if the part's worth enough. So
right.
That's kind of what we do. We work. We have 3 shifts. We're typically up until about 9 months ago, we're running 7 days a week. Now it has softened a little bit. So the one project we worked on the weekends is slow enough that we just can do it in 5 days now. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I know. I said this is your 40th year. I know you're a second generation. Was it your dad's shop that you worked at? Is that?
I worked at an uncle and my father's shop. My uncle had started the shop in Milwaukee area. They had asked me to look at running it for him as he went in for some surgery. I was working at a company called Magnaflux that did non-destructive testing, and I was young, hadn't finished college. I had went but hadn't finished, so I took it on. It was interesting. I had a big knowledge and interest in chemistry. Kind of fit up what I liked. I worked there like 3 years. Turned out that my uncle had Parkinson's, and he never came back. And he was there. I mean, came back needing to work. I tried to buy the business because it was interesting, but it needed a lot of changes, and they weren't interested, so I had left. And it turned out then my father worked for me for a while. It was interesting. That was kind of hard. I walked away not taking any of their bit. I wanted to try to keep it good terms.
Right.
From that I learned know when to sell. That's important sometimes for ownership, is know when to sell. And,
right.
But that's how I got into it. It was interesting. I thought you could make lots of money. I was all disillusioned. I thought, until you get into a business, you don't realize how hard they are, and they're
Right.
ongoing. Um,
Right.
unless other people are better than me, you're always have interest in it as long as you own it.
Right. Right.
So it's,
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah,
was gonna say. I remember you told me one time. I think it was that you made a slight error, and you really were really underfunded it when you started that out. That had to be even rougher to
well,
start out.
yeah, we're underfunded. I started with a partner who came from Magnaflux with me,
Hmm.
who I'd worked with a lot. We were friends. Yeah, we were underfunded. I had no idea. My business degree came later with lots of mistakes and lots of costly mistakes.
Hmm.
I would have been way cheaper to go to a Ivy League school and get my MBA than what it cost me probably in mistakes. Um,
Right.
yeah, we were underfunded like everybody. You think, we dug our own 13-foot deep pit with a backhoe. We poured the cement
Mm.
for it. We just couldn't afford to do anything. I did all the electrical hooking in rectifiers. We happened to start in a company that Harnischfeger, the crane people owned, and they had
Right.
a
Hmm.
weld training center, a CETA program at the time they were called. So
Mm.
they had almost 100 fuse boxes. They had like 100 welders in it, and they had
Right.
all the cranes in it. They had some blowers on the roof. So it allowed us to hook in and be good. Now, 40 years later, I probably would have done none of that, of course. I, I, I don't hook up my own electrical, the rectifiers anymore. I don't. So we did a lot. Um, Also meant that we worked probably almost 2 years or at least a year and a half with no heat, literally in the winter, no heat other than the
Mm.
tanks. Um,
Mm.
After a year, we were taking really no wages, which isn't much fun. And my partner came in one Saturday. We're supposed to work, and he had a stock with them and signed it over and said, "I'm never coming back." So I left that
Wow.
day with a 16-hour day because we had to finish a customer's work. And um, yeah, I would say any advice is don't go in underfunded. It makes you make a lot
Right.
of decisions, um, a lot of hours, and businesses are long hours anyways. Unless
Right.
someone else has found the magic formula,
Right.
they're
Right.
hard to walk
Exactly.
away from. So
Right.
uh,
Right.
yeah, we're underfunded, but I learned a lot from that too. Make do with what you have. Fix a lot of things. Sometimes um, now, we're fixing things. We try to buy just new for everything. And I look back and I'm thinking, geez, could we make it if we were as tight as we were then? It took a
Right.
lot of work. Once again, I'm sure I'm not the only one that's been in that position starting.
Right. It's
Uh,
that sounds like a story I've heard from a lot of people. Like you said,
well,
you're young and you're ready to work and you're putting in all those times and you think you can
I'm
do it all. And
smarter than everybody else, and I've been humbled pretty quickly on that. So
right. But like you said, I mean, look at you. I mean, you guys, I know you had been doing some record years of late. And like you said, 3 shifts is pretty good. I mean, it seems like you guys have been very, very busy of late, haven't you?
it's been good. It's been good.
Yeah.
It's been the last few years a lot of changes, but
Hmm.
um,
Right. Yeah. Well,
it's been good to us.
right.
It's been hectic. Um, Lucky to have good people. Lucky that we built the facility to be able to grow, and it's a good facility as far as money put in for EPA type things. We tried to keep it. I had family working here, 2 sons here and stuff, so I
Right.
wanted this to be a place that we could work, and the people with this. So
Right.
that's turned out good, though. I mean,
Right.
um, I'm always
Yeah.
pushing because I feel like we have to. Uh,
Right.
all of a sudden, you realize there's a lot of people that make their incomes off you too, with you.
Right. Exactly. And
So,
their family, so it's multiplied.
and the families,
You know,
so
yeah, right.
that's kind of. I mean, I look out for the business, but I'm, kind of try. You find out your people are a pretty important part of this business.
Right.
Everyone can buy equipment. They're a
Right.
hard part of the business, especially nowadays too.
Right.
Yeah.
Your goal all along was by this time was to be sitting on a beach somewhere, right? You were actually you had an exit plan, right, of
Yeah,
what you were going to do, right? I mean, this was like four
you
or five
know,
years ago.
when I started this, I did make a business plan with my partner, and we were. I really thought after 10 years I would be sitting on the beach collecting money. Had wanted to open another place in Tampa. This was the original business plan. In other words, um,
Mm,
go to a different area of the country too. Um,
right.
and that I would literally, we'd have it set up that I wouldn't have to be here, just the checks rolling in. And I learned very quickly that's not how it worked, or at least for
Right.
us.
Right.
It's
Right.
been ongoing. I'll be 69 this year.
Wow, you look good.
Come in every day. I thought a few years ago I may have been easing up, but we had changes here, and you know
Right. Right.
that didn't
Yeah.
happen.
So,
You know,
yeah. I was gonna say your wife Vicky runs the business side of things for
yeah,
you,
yeah,
right? Runs the
yeah,
admin of that,
yeah.
and
She
yeah, I was
got
gonna
I
say she
roped her into that. I had a business.
just her dream job, wasn't it? Just her dream job to do that. Yeah.
Um, you know, she she's always supported me when we started this because it was tough, and I had an office manager in here for 15 or 17 years who was great, but then she retired, and then trying to fill that job in a small business like this was brutal. And
Right.
finally, I asked my wife, who took care of our finances, and I knew how well she did at that. Hey, I need you here. I mean, I can't keep on like this. So she came in,
Right.
had a lot to learn. Luckily, we had a accountant that was very helpful. We had people that were helpful. She learned the job. She does an awesome job.
Right.
Um,
Right. But it's great that she had that background with you of what you all do, how you make your money, what
oh
needs
yeah,
to be done. That had to be key instead of just bringing somebody in off the street who may not know what it's
well,
all about, right? Yeah.
plus she
With
had
that.
skin in the game. She cared if we collected our money. All things are so important in a business. I got in figuring if I could plate better than everyone else, that I could do well. Well, then you find out businesses are way more complex, between
Right.
the people. You got to collect money, you got to bill right, you have to, you know, you have to price right. It's just way more complicated than um, I
Right.
I thought getting it.
Right. Yeah. You can know the finishing aspect of it, right?
Yeah,
But the business aspect, especially in a heavy regulated industry like that, can make it even more
it's brutal.
complicated. Right.
It's brutal.
Right.
Heavily
Yeah.
regulated. You can always have people stopping in unexpected, unannounced, and you have to be ready. We work with some third parties like Scientific Control Labs, who helps us with that,
Mhm.
for a long time. From when
Right.
Frank Altmeyer was there until Jolie and
Uh,
Jeff
Joe
left.
that took over.
They've
Right.
helped us a ton, Jolie especially. They're always there. They're close. That helps too. Uh,
Right.
Got to know them
Right.
over the years. So,
Yeah.
we're lucky to have some good suppliers like that too to help us
Right.
to get
Right.
through things. So,
Yeah. And like I said, Ross is your vice president now. I know he's got an engineering background, pretty
Yeah,
smart guy, right? To come in and with that, right?
yeah, yeah, well, I don't know how smart he was. He was working at foundries before he came here. That's probably even worse than plating. But he liked that. He went to school at Western Michigan. Mainly went there because he played hockey for him. He played Division
Mm,
One hockey, and but then he wanted to do engineering, which was a pretty hard curriculum to do while playing a sport.
about playing a
Uh,
sport, definitely.
yeah, so
Right.
he worked for like three foundries. His brother Zach had been here long, like probably 15 years with me, and wanted his brother to come here with him. Um, so he waited to his brother was not happy with one of the foundries, whether it was how they were doing things or what. Um, that's a hard business too, found. And um, went after them, recruited them, and got them to come here. So
Right.
that's been good, but it's been a really steep learning curve for him. Uh,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. I was gonna say, and like I said, it's not just the finishing aspect of it, not just the engineering part of it, right? It's running the business and dealing with customers, and you've got employees, you've got regulators, and you've got to do EPA, and you've got all these things that really can carry at many different levels of. Uh, you've got to have a stomach for it, right? I mean, you really do. Seems like.
kind of. I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, until you do
Right.
it, it's hard to realize how hard having a business is.
Right.
I'm sure whether it's any type of business, whether it's metal finishing, I think metal finishing unfortunately has a few extra things because how we're regulated.
Right.
Um, and what we have here as far as chemicals, man, we have to be very careful. People have to be educated, and unfortunately, yeah, that's probably the hard part we find is the education part of it. I mean, you know, most of the people we in our workforce are probably high school educated at, at
Hmm.
most, and
Right.
good people, but they just haven't had things didn't fall that was important. So we still need to educate them because this is a fairly complex field we're in, really. Um,
Right.
yes,
Right. I
used
call
to
it high
be.
tech. I mean, it's high
It
technology a
really
lot of
is.
times.
I mean,
Right.
sometimes when we start showing stuff like, even lab stuff, showing electrolysis, people actually seeing something being plated, in the lab type atmosphere, that it gives them in explaining what's really going on. We do a really good job here. Sometimes it's amazing, and it's amazing once people learn more that it's more interesting for them too. Gives
Hmm.
even more
Right.
pride in what they do. But it's
Right.
very hard to educate while you're trying to run a business. Meaning, I have to get customers' work out. We're a job shop, so you have good intentions, but making it happen is way harder. And this field, we did have nice curriculums like the CEF, but that's way above what most of our people are on the floor capable.
Right.
I mean, I took it when Frank Altmaier was an instructor. That's how I met him in Chicago, and did an
Hmm.
awesome job instructing. He's kind of him getting out of kind of the field, or you know, that's a big loss for our industry. I think.
Right.
I always found him to be so informative and willing to talk to people. When I've had him here, he talks down to nobody. We need people like that to help educate. Um,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's
Definitely.
important. It's important because it is a fairly complex field between all the pollution control I mean, the amount of pollution control a small business like mine has is incredible. It's
Right.
air makeup, scrubbers, waste treatment. And they keep throwing. Get more and more things. PFASs are coming up. The whole. You can never rest. It's always changing. So,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
You can't, it seems that something's going to come at you. Just when you get comfortable, something's going to
kind
come
of,
at you with that.
kind of. I mean, PFAS was a new thing. A lot of people had to use it. Decorative chrome people had to use it. It was an
Had to use it required. Right.
awesome product. We've used stuff, fume suppressants in the past, mainly for um, so we always came in zero detection when we did OSHA testing.
Mm.
I felt it was worth. It kept things, especially on an automated line, cleaner all the time. The flight bars. It made exposure to everyone that worked here when we tested non-detectable. So it was worth it to me. But then all of a sudden you have other
Hmm.
things to deal with down the line. So
Right.
it
Yeah.
seems to be
That's
that's
the
what the
tough.
industry is.
Right.
Find
Yeah. I was going
something
to say
new.
that's the tough part. Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately, when they start finding what all PFAS is in, it's going to be a little tougher than just regulating the plating industry.
right. Right.
Uh,
Exactly. It's everywhere. But but yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned Zach, and I met him years ago.
yeah,
Just a wonderful, bright kid. I remember him just bouncing up to me and at a trade show, I believe it was, introducing himself, and you don't see two things. You don't see somebody that young in a leadership role in the industry, and you don't see people as excited to be in the industry. It seemed like as he was, and I know. Like I said, heartbreaking that you lost him in
yeah.
2021. I know, like I said, I think at that time you were looking at having him really sort of take over. Like you said, the game plan was sort of, you were trying to kind of phase yourself out and give him that. And, not like I said, in losing him in the accident, not only, do you lose your child, but you lose someone so integral to your company, right? I mean, that had to be very difficult to deal with all around, right?
Oh, it was brutal, of course, losing a child.
Hmm.
He had been here. I mean, he worked here. I have pictures of him sitting on the forklift, probably 2 years old, when I was putting my hoist line in. Because
Right.
once again, I'm still doing stuff even 4 years after I started this business to try to keep costs down. Luckily, I had done a lot of things in my life, and you know, then he worked here. He's in a family business, so there's times that he was polishing parts at a pretty young age. And I homeschooled both my kids for like 2 years. I think like seventh,
Hmm.
eighth grade. They're 2 years apart, my sons. And I found that the schooling takes about 3 hours a day only when you can just do the schooling. And,
Right.
they'd be working in the shop. They're around this shop a lot.
Right.
And then from there, I tried to teach them financial lessons. Like they got paid to do some of that, so they had Roths at like 12 years old and things like that. Trying to get them to
Mm.
understand money some more than I did when I was for quite a
Right.
while. So yeah,
Right.
and Zach really liked this um, field. He liked the hands-on part a lot, and he also liked that it was fairly complex. He was able to learn it. He was good at it. Um, he's the one that had pushed me to start doing the Top Shop type thing when you were in
Hmm.
charge of that. He said, "Oh, let's get it, let's fill it out." And um,
Right.
when we got, we had one time been lit, been part of that, and were able to get top shop, he was really proud of
Right. Right. Yeah. I remember. I recall the. I think one of the first years or a year I think that you all received that he did something kind of unique that I never saw any other shop do. Was he took the award back and took a photograph of every one of your employees with the award. Sending the message it was because of them, right,
that. Oh
and
yeah.
making sure that they shared in that.
Yeah, both my sons were heavy into hockey all their life, so we traveled
Hmm.
a lot for hockey, and that was kind of like what they did with the Stanley Cup type thing. So, um,
Right. Yeah. It was kind of a unique idea with
it
that,
was
and
unique.
but
People liked it. It was a big thing. I mean, it was a big thing to him. It was a big thing, because we push fairly hard here. My Zach used to always say, you're never happy, and sometimes I'd step back and realize he was right, kind of. But I always felt we always had to push to be better, and like I said,
right.
we all started to buy into that, including people here. I mean, with the help of people like Scientific Control, I mean, we keep this facility clean, that we people can walk in for inspections. Large customers, can come here because we get audited, and we don't do much preparation. We try to live it every day. Some of that is, you know, just that we all believed in it. Wanted it. We thought that would make us better. I think it has. Takes work though.
Right.
Sometimes I
Right.
wish it was easier. But
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Exactly.
and you mentioned losing him, and I see this in a lot of companies right now. There's a lot of people, baby boomers, that are being lost, and it's a giant brain drain. My son was not a
Right.
baby boomer, but he had a lot of knowledge in this industry. I find, I'm sometimes surprised how little knowledge there is. There's some places doing a lot and others not, and it's hard to find education for this industry. Good
Right.
education.
Exactly.
There's
Right.
some, but some of it has to be more towards the people on the floor too. The CEF is pretty much above those people. It just
Right.
is. Math skills, time they can put into it. They have a life too, so you kind of have to build in training to fit their life too, and
Right.
what they actually
Exactly.
do. So,
Right.
Zach was pretty good at that too with people. So that
Right.
was a big loss too. He was a real.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say, it's in that situation. I know I've talked to some other families across the country who own shops, and either if a father dies suddenly or a brother dies suddenly or something like that, one of the consistent things I heard was, I really didn't have time to mourn. I had to get back to the business. There's not like we've got people there. I could take 2 weeks or 3 weeks off. I mean, it's a tough business to be family owned, and sometimes where you can't really just shut it down and grieve and go, and have that time. You've got to get back, right? You got to get right back in there, and keep the things going because, like you mentioned, a lot of people depend on you that work for you all, and have families, right? I mean, it's not like you can just you know go
And,
away for a bit.
no, and we're job shops, so people, they make hair, but they still need their parts. And I mean, we lost them on a Sunday night, and we were in here Monday morning because people know no one knew. So, um, you know, we we kind of we had a lot of people here that supported us.
Right.
Trying to give us time off. Unfortunately, too, I had some medical problems myself. When we
Mm.
lost him, I had just had open heart surgery, so I had 2 months of was supposed to be off another month for that, and I
Sure.
really couldn't. So,
Right.
we had a lot of help from.
Right. Right. And like I said, you've got some people there that have extensive, I mean, years and years of experience,
Yeah.
right? Over 10
Oh
years.
yeah.
And that's been a
Yeah.
big key for you. You've been able to really keep a lot of people there for a long time. Obviously they're happy working for maybe not happy. They're they're okay. They like working for you all. They like the job and they like how you
Yeah.
treat them. And that's a key.
Yeah. And once again, Zach was very good at that. I mean, he had a lot of empathy for people, and he he taught me a lot that way. Because I've always pushed. Of course, I've cared about people. Because I they were part of this, but he taught me a lot about empathy, and he helped a lot of people, and we keep moving along. Then I had some more problems. So in the last 3 years, we lost him about 3 years ago. It's been a little over 3 years, but then I was probably gone over 9 months of those 3 years for health problems. So it was up to his brother, who was fairly new, within a couple of years, to keep it going, and that's a tough job. I mean, we were
Right.
busy like most people in the industry the last few years, and um, we keep
Yeah.
we keep moving. I you know I still like this industry.
Hmm.
It's a very tough one. It's been good to my family overall. Um, uh, I think it's an important one. Even though most people don't know that, all our metal finishing has a bigger role than people think.
Right.
They would just look around and realize everything they're probably touching or in their house has something, some type of metal finishing attached to it. But it is what it is. We want to keep growing. We bought a grind shop a year or so ago because we thought it
Okay.
would complement us. Um, we we want to keep growing both in the fields we are, looking at some other things, some other businesses we might buy that kind of have to do with coatings. Uh, um,
Yeah.
I
Well,
guess even now, I don't see where you can rest too much. We either need to sell and get out or keep moving. Right now, we plan on just keep moving, and um, we'll try to enjoy it. Sometimes that's hard. Um, all of us that are working, it's tough right now. I think for everybody,
right.
probably tougher for the people that work for me. From different inflation and things, it just makes it rough on families. And you know,
Right.
and these people. Someone 35 years or whatever they've worked with. You get to know a lot about them, their families, good
Right.
and bad things. Like all of us have, and
Right.
you know,
Right.
it's fun. It's good though. It's good.